Hello, chess family. It's me, National Master Jesse James, and today we're taking a look at my second round in the Denver Open 2022 against Jesse Kraai. Oh my gosh, I got to play a Grandmaster. Let's see how it goes. Here I was playing with the black pieces, so we started off with d4, knight f6, knight f3, g6, c4, and against this I went ahead and played bishop g7. I was planning on trying to do a King's Indian defense, but after knight c3, the d6 lines don't do well in my opinion in these ones. So here I just decided to go d5 and, well, try my luck out in a Grunfeld. Definitely not the best idea to play openings you don't know. But with that being said, I figured I'd try it out. I knew playing the d6 lands wasn't going to give me what I was looking for, so I went ahead and tried the Grunfeld defense out. Alright, c takes d5, knight takes d5, pawn e4, knight takes, pawn takes, and here I make my first blunder because, again, I don't play it as much as I would like to. It's a lot of theory. I went ahead and played bishop g4, a decisive mistake. Here in this line, you're supposed to be playing pawn to c5 here, which I now have learned, so hopefully I'll be playing that in the future whenever I do feel like playing another Grunfeld. And here, rook b1 is a move to play here, bishop b5 is a move, and like in the game, bishop e3. Most likely this is what Jesse would have played against me. We'll see who the stronger Jesse is here. So bishop g4 was played. I remember this was one of the strong ideas in these games, is to try and trade off this bishop for the knight. He would have played bishop b3, a very nice move. Castles here, and queen to d2. I'd never seen this idea before, and I was very impressed with it. This is a very barbaric idea, just going for kingside attack, and yeah. Here I went ahead and played the thematic c5 move now. He played pawn d5 and queen to a5. I saw here I can develop with a nice little threat and put pressure on the c3 pawn. And he went ahead and played rook c1 here. And I didn't play the move I was originally supposed to be playing. When I played the queen a5 idea, I was thinking about playing this idea pawn to b5, but I realized just afterwards, well, bishop takes c5 gets played, and it wasn't even too worried about losing this c5 as much. It was more about the e7 pawn that would then be worse. With that being said, this is actually what computer recommends, and after rook c8, bishop b4 gets played, queen goes back to c7 here. Is there a reason why we shouldn't take on e7 here? Of course. Here, rook takes on c3, even bishop takes c3, can give black just a good game here. And unfortunately for me, I had missed this. And yeah, here I just don't get a very good game. Instead, I choose a very bad move, a bishop takes f3 here. And after g takes on f3, well, yes, the king castling is not going to be too good here. But Jesse says, who said anything about me castling? Here, I'm going to attack your king. So I continue with knight to d7, thinking I can now try this b5 move. But then I was in quite for a shock when he played h4 against me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, now I'm way too slow here. What do I do here? Here I played another bad move, and I played pawn to h5. Thank you so much. Jesse did go over the game with me, and I felt like h5 was not the best here, but whenever he told me this was not very good, he definitely confirmed it for me. Here he showed me a very cool idea here of playing ideas like pawn to f5, and the game gets really, really interesting at this point, with a lot of variations that Jesse goes over. In fact, Jesse actually went over this game on his Twitch channel. Of course, we all know him from the dojo. Chess dojo, right? So f5 got played in this position, and apparently things go very, very crazy. I played h5 here, and Jesse just takes the center all by himself. Pawn f4, rook to d8, pawn c4, and queen to a3. Here, I thought this was a very nice move making pressure, but here Jesse finds a nice move just to kick me back. Rook to h3. Ugh, and now I was just really, really concerned with a lot of different ideas like bishop to d4. Of course, making trades here is only going to help Jesse with this beautiful center that he has. I tried queen a4, pawn e5, and at this point, I'm just in a very, very bad position. We're only 17 moves in, but playing the Grunfeld is definitely not for those who know the line very well, but just for those who cannot play the best moves. And already at this point, I'm in a very, very bad position. Here I played e6, trying to open up the center. Of course, Jesse doesn't want to do that, and he says, you know what, let's go ahead and make some trades here, trade the queens. I declined to do that. I was wanting to make queen trade here and take on d5, but I saw it wasn't going to be too good for me. After queen takes, rook takes, pawn takes on d5, pawn takes on d5. The c5 pawn is hanging. And yeah, the center's just way too strong here. Yeah, I'm not too sure. I guess I could play something like b6, but with the bishop pair on his side and these rooks, yeah, this is already giving white a +5 advantage. Definitely not a route I wanted to go into. So I played queen a5 check. He played bishop d2, queen a6, rook to g3, and now I have to worry about ideas of simple stuff like bishop d3 and then taking on g6. Maybe in bishop e2 and just going for kingside attack. Oh gosh, I played rook fe8, pawn to d6 here, knight back to f8, trying to guard over here on these pawns. And here he just played bishop g2. Here Jesse's already planning for the endgame. This rook lift that he did was so nice because it just can go anywhere on the board that it wants to. I played rook b8 here. Again, I'm trying to get some kind of counterplay in. If I can get b5, I'd be very happy. Pawn a4 to no avail. He's not going to let me get any counterplay. b6, queen b3, queen c8, queen b5, and I had a feeling I knew what he was up to. I played a6, and he played the move I was dreading. He played queen to c6 here. He says, let's just trade these queens off and go into an endgame here, as the endgame will not be very good for me. If I play something like queen d8, I mean, there's lots of ways he can keep this going. A5 is probably the best move that he can play in this position, because if pawn takes, you would look about playing just taking on c5, maybe even queen c7 here, forcing the queens off the board and then winning the a5 pawn. So all variations are just losing here. I traded queens, bishop takes c6, rook over to c8, bishop b4, pawn to b5, and this was the major breakthrough for white. Unfortunately, at this point, it's white's move to win. Can you find it? It did not take Jesse too long to find this winning idea. All right. Usually when I do these ideas, it's usually with me winning. Unfortunately, Jesse's not being nice to me. Here he took on b5, pawn takes, and a5. I had seen this idea, but I don't know. And even Jesse talked to me after the game. He's like, yeah, that move of b5 he played was by a man that's definitely not taking his time and just pushing way too hard. And I can't agree more with that correct evaluation. Knight d7, a6. There's no stopping this pawn. It's just going to run across the board. Rook b6 and a7, and I resigned here. I thought I was going to be able to play rook a6, but of course, bishop b7 just ends all my hopes. So after a7, I just went ahead and resigned. Very good game to Jesse. Let's see if I get lucky in round 3.